Dickerson.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Leinart, 2004 Heisman Trophy winner.
Hey, I'm Zane Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Matt Barry from ESPN. You're getting ready to watch one of the best college football podcasts ever. It's the Harris Highlight Show.
You're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you listen to the Harris Highlight Show. Enjoy it.
Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from the Chateau in beautiful Monrovia, California, this is the Harris Highlight Show. Joining me this week is our college football analyst, Josh Schaefer, our college football expert, Lyle Goldstein, our executive producer, Brady Klein. I'm your host for the evening, Blake Harris. Gentlemen, how we doing? July 1st is tomorrow. It's been some time. We got a good show ahead. What's everyone up to?
Wait. Tomorrow being July 1st means, you guys know what that means, right?
Bobby Bonilla's getting a paycheck.
Yes.
No, even better than that. Today is Larry Scott's last day as a Pac-12 commissioner.
That's true. It is.
I mean, we should really applaud him for the job he did.
Yeah.
We really should never
Celebrating
do
with
such a
the
thing.
smoothie.
So we are going to celebrate in honor of Larry Scott's final day. Bobby Bonilla getting paid $1.2 whatever $million to not play for the New York Mets, as he will, I think, every July 1st, I think 2036. Bobby Bonilla's agent is the agent of the decade, of the century, for pulling off that contract, because it is actually unbelievable. But guys, a fun show ahead. As you guys can tell by the title of this video, we are finally going to be talking about transfers and just all the transfers that happened this off season. Not every single one that happened, but again, if you guys have any ones you guys want us to talk about, you guys can hit us up in the live chat, hit us up with the super chat. If there is a transfer you'd like to hear our thoughts on, we're each going to be sharing 5 or 6 that we want to bring up, some notable ones, and again, going through some of your guys' comments in regards to what transfers you want to hear about. We're going to be talking about just, is it getting out of control? Are there too many transfers? Is this getting out of hand? And just a fun little thing, as you can also see by the title of this video, can we potentially see in this new age of college football a super team of transfers? Can we see a bunch of transfers, team up and say, you know what, we're going to set out for a year, and we're just going to form a super team. We're going to become the Golden State Warriors of the college football world and just have the greatest team ever assembled. So a lot of that to get to coming up later in the show, and a fun segment when we're done with all that our executive producer Brady Klein came up with. We're going to tease. It has something to do with the Olympics. We're going to tie it in with college football. Not going to go any more than that, but it's a fun segment later in the show, so you definitely don't want to miss that. So, guys, before we get to talking about the latest transfers from the college football world, what are your guys' just overall general thoughts on where we're at today with how many players are transferring? It seems like the number is just going up every year. Do you think having hundreds and hundreds of players every year, going to and from different schools, some players going to 2 to 3 different schools from their initial school, do you think that's a good or a bad thing for college football as a whole?
Frankly, I don't care. They should do whatever is best for them. And if you need to go somewhere else to be in a better situation for yourself, or go somewhere else that'll be a better fit for you, then you should do it. That's the way that I look at it. And yeah, like people bring up like the loyalty thing, like, are you loyal to the school? Like, I kind of get it if it's like, all right, you've been the starting quarterback for 3 years and you randomly like want to transfer. Like, yeah, sure. But for the most part, like, these guys need to do what's best for them. So, I mean, it's not like you're transferring to avoid injury or something like that. No, like, you want to go play somewhere. You want to go play for a coach that wants to have you. You want to go play for different teammates, whatever that may be. Like, I think you got to do what's best for you.
Yeah, I agree. You're usually not going to see a Trevor Lawrence transfer in the middle of his college career. So it's usually not the type of transfer that's going to change the landscape of college football. So for the most part, for these guys, if you want to go somewhere and play at a different school and you think that's going to better your career, go do it. I mean, it's not a big deal to me. I think, like Josh said, every player should do what they feel is best for them.
You look at the last wave of top tier players that have come out of college football. Joe Burrow, a transfer. Kyler Murray, a transfer. Big name guys, especially, you get a lot of quarterbacks transfer because there's only one on a team. There's such a great level of competition amongst them, and there's a need for them everywhere. So I agree with Josh and Lyle is I have no problem with it. I think one thing you can do as a college football player is you can go somewhere and learn. So say you're going to go walk on at Alabama as a quarterback. You're not going to play. You're going to be the nth string quarterback at Alabama, but you learn from a coach, you learn from the best of the best, and then you can transfer somewhere else, and almost any school will want you, right? You can go to, I don't know, you want to go to a Big Ten school. You want to go anywhere else. You are at one of these high-level schools learning from the best of the best, or any school learning from somewhere. As long as you don't leave, on a sour note, I have no problem with it.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's a good thing, actually. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point in the sense of a lot of these guys that have transferred have become stars somewhere else. My point was when I said you don't usually see a Trevor Lawrence type guy transfer, point being you don't usually see an established star that's already at a school transfer. Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray were at the end of the depth chart at their previous schools. They transfer, and look at them now. They're superstars. So, I mean, it helps so many more. I think it helps more guys than it hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is the only one that really kind of comes to mind immediately where they were like already a proven, talented player, and then the situation presented itself, so he decided to dip. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of these guys that transferred ends up benefiting them because they're either, sitting low on the depth chart. There's like an issue that happens where they have to, flee ships. So overall, yeah, I mean, they each brought up their own different thought. They each provided different things. So I do agree with you on that. So guys, pretty much for the most part, again, there were a lot of different transfers this off season. Not enough time to get to every one. There's some that are more significant than the others. So what we're going to do is we're essentially going to kind of just go around the room. We pretty much said, okay, pick like 5 to 6 or 7. We're going to start with quarterbacks since that's kind of like the main one. That's where the bigger transfers come from. And then we're going to go to like non-quarterbacks, like some running backs, wide receivers, defensive players, tight ends, because in the tight end world, a really good tight end transferred this offseason. But again, we're all going to kind of pick a few that we want to talk about, that we want to mention. And again, if there's a name that we don't talk about, if there's someone that transferred you would like to hear our thoughts on immediately, you guys can donate to the super chat, donate a couple bucks. We will for sure talk about the player who you want to hear our thoughts on. But again, if there's not someone that we mention, let us know, because we want to talk about the guys you're interested in hearing about. So I'll open up the floor, guys. I'll open up to whoever wants to kick things off about a quarterback who transferred this offseason that again, it could be you found interesting, you thought was a dumb move, a la McCaffrey going to Louisville, even though they already had a proven starting quarterback, or it could be one you think it's going to benefit them. Their numbers are going to go up, and the team that they transfer to is going to benefit from the move.
What about a McCaffrey going to Northern Colorado?
That's big for Northern Colorado. Big.
Well, the dad's the head coach.
Yeah, big things coming.
The Bears, watch out for the Bears. One that I think is very interesting right off the bat, and this is, I think, definitely one that flew under the radar for people outside the Pac-12, is Arizona quarterback Grant Gunnell transferring from U of A to Memphis. I think that's a really big one. Grant Gunnell, the last couple of years, when Lyle and I did the U of A ASU game in 2019, we went into this game thinking, all right, Khalil Tate was supposed to be like the next big thing. They had him on the face of ESPN and was like, or of Sports Illustrated, like, oh, the next big Heisman winner. And that never happened. And instead, I think some of the better drives in that 2019, some of the better games in that 2019 U of A season, and some of the better drives for U of A in that game were when Grant Gunnell was the quarterback. And he showed a lot of promise. And didn't really get too many opportunities in the long run. And I think him transferring to Memphis is exactly what he needs. Kind of like we mentioned earlier, these guys should go wherever they see fit, wherever they think they can thrive. And I think Grant Gunnell goes to Memphis and has just as much, if not more, success as Brady White. They were both very similar quarterbacks, could move a little bit, really strong arm, good vision down the field. And that's the kind of vibe that I get from Grant Gunnell. So that's going to be the first one that I throw out there. Definitely a more under the radar one, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Memphis is going to be kind of where they were a couple of years ago, maybe not even where Cincinnati was last year. I think Cincinnati is going to be the group of 5 team to beat this next year, but maybe Memphis can be there as well. And maybe even the year after.
the whole Grant Gunnell thing was just like really weird at Arizona because it seemed like they never wanted to commit to him, like being their starting quarterback. Like he had some games with Arizona where like he looked really good, and then there were some games where he just didn't look good. But it was weird. Where over the last 2 years, he was behind Khalil Tate, but then even last year, it just seemed like they never fully went all in on Grant Gunnell. And the fact that he's going to Memphis, we saw Brady White have so much success there. I mean, he's like arguably the best quarterback in Memphis history. We've seen flashes of Grant Gunnell being a really good quarterback, and he can thrive in that Memphis offense just the way Brady White did.
Yeah, there were 2 transfer quarterbacks that stood out to me. One, which Josh just touched on, was Grant Gunnell. And I think the reason being this guy was one of the best Texas high school quarterbacks ever when he was coming out of high school. Didn't really thrive at Arizona. He was behind Khalil Tate, who kind of went back and forth. They kind of went every other drive, it felt like at times in 2019. And then in 2020, he was just okay. To be honest, I think the guy has all the talent in the world, and I think a lot of it you could probably pin on coaching. I think Mike Norvell has a much better feel for how to run an offense than Kevin Sumlin does. And like Josh just said, you look at Brady White and the success he had. I don't see why Grant Gunnell couldn't be the same. The other guy that stood out to me was Alan Bowman going to Michigan. And I don't know if this guy's going to win the job or not because there's a few quarterbacks competing to win it. But it's almost the polar opposite of what he was doing at Texas Tech. Because at Texas Tech, he was allowed to air it out 50 times a game. It was an up-tempo offense. It was a pass-heavy offense. I mean, at Michigan, not only do they run the ball, but like their play calling is very, it's very simple, and sometimes it almost feels outdated. So I'm going to be interested to see how a quarterback who, again, like Gunnell, I think has a ton of talent, is going to be used and utilized in a system like that. Do they want to move away from that run-heavy offense, and do they want to try and air it out to compete with Ohio State, which they haven't been able to do in a long time? Maybe they give Bowman the reins to do that, or maybe Bowman looks at Michigan as a team that can give him a little bit of a gut check and can groom him a little bit better as a quarterback, because I think some of his knocks were he had all the talent in the world, but sometimes he would get a little bit lost. Sometimes he would make poor decisions, and maybe he believes Jim Harbaugh can help him fix that. So those were the 2 that stood out to me. Again, Grant Gunnell's style with Michigan's offense are 2 polar opposites. So I'll be interested to see how they mesh that if he wins the job.
If I can interject real quick, Brady, I think with Bowman going there, so I looked before we hopped on, because that's one that jumped out to me too. So our lads, the website Our Lads, has all the depth charts. Knowing ASU and USC football really well these last couple years makes me know that maybe it's not the most credible site, at least for depth charts, because nobody from Our Lads is out on the field every single practice. They, just for what it's worth, they have Bowman listed as the 3rd string quarterback. I think that's a little bit crazy. So I do think it could be a little bit of both, of maybe him going there for a gut check. Maybe Michigan wants to step away from that outdated type of offense that you said, Lyle. But again, it's also worth considering that might be something too. I mean, Zach Charbonnet is transferring out of Michigan, and he was one of their top running backs the last few years. So it could be a little bit of both.
The one that really stuck out to me was Ryan Kelly transferring from ASU to Eastern Washington. That was a big one for me. No,
hey, man, he stays in the Pac-12 in Lyle's hypothetical.
In my updated conference,
I don't know who that is.
What, Ryan Kelly? Oh yeah, I mean, exactly. Ryan Kelly. I mean, he was a big deal. I remember when we were freshmen, and then I stopped hearing his name for years.
Yeah. Well, didn't he get hurt right away? And then it was and then the next year they just didn't recruit any quarterbacks. So then it was
every ASU quarterback got hurt when we were there.
True.
Where did he go to school?
He's at Eastern Washington now.
Where did he go to high school?
I'll tell you.
I forget.
Was he an Arizona kid?
Basha in Chandler.
I was going to say he went to Basha, didn't he? Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan Kelly.
Anyways,
there you go.
The 2 big transfers that stuck out to me are guys we actually talked about on the show before. Not on this show specifically, but on the show as a whole. That's Mackenzie Milton, obviously going from UCF to Florida State, sticking in Florida. He was a proven, I'm going to say, good quarterback. And I think with the amount of struggles that Florida State has had over the last, call it 3 to 4 years, a guy like Mackenzie Milton, if healthy, if able to play, if whatever it may be, is able to play the level he was at, can do wonders for a team like Florida State with the athletes, with the recruits, and everything that Florida State gets. Can do wonders. Florida State, and I'm pulling a Blake here. I hate doing this, but I'm calling this a hypothetical.
Yes,
but he could have a Joe Burrow type resurgence at Florida State.
Yeah,
with the weapons, with everything around him, he could have a great season like that. And another one is Tyler Shuck going from Oregon to Texas Tech, where we saw him, Tyler Shuck in Oregon, more sort of a West Coast run and gun type of offense. And now you go to Texas Tech, it's going to showcase his ability to air out the ball. We saw he had a good deep ball, but this is really going to showcase his talent as a deep ball quarterback. I think that's a big one too, is Tyler Shuck going from Oregon to Texas Tech.
I mean, the Mackenzie Milton one, I'll just start on that. I mean, this dude literally, when the year he got injured, I mean, he only played, I think, 9 games, and he still finished like 6th in Heisman voting. So that's how good of a season he was having. I think the year prior, he was like 8th or 9th in Heisman voting. So yeah, if he's healthy, this is a consensus top 8, top 6 quarterback in the country. And Florida State, ever since Jameis Winston, DeAndre Francois had, that one pretty good season. But aside, ever since Jameis left, Florida State has just had a garbage, just plethora of just quarterback play, where if they just get any upgrade compared to what they've had over the last few years, Florida State's going to be a much better team. I don't know if they're going to be competing for the ACC title game, but they're definitely going to be better. And that's, again, assuming Milton's able to go back to what he once was, which is asking a lot considering he almost had his leg amputated.
Well, I was going to say, if he's healthy, I mean, that's the biggest key, is he has to prove that he is fully recovered, which can be a big step for an injury as serious as the one he had. But like I talked about with Mike Norvell, kind of grooming Brady White and turning him into a good college quarterback, now at Florida State, he could do the same thing with Mackenzie Milton, who's already a proven winner and a proven top 10 quarterback in college football when he's healthy. So I think that's an interesting pairing and transfer, like Brady talked about. His first game's against Notre Dame, so he's got a tough task in what'll be his first week of the season. So I'll be interested to see how he looks.
And they have also had some pretty decent talent around that quarterback position the last couple of years. I mean, again, 2 years ago, even though Florida State wasn't very good, they put out Cam Akers. And then this past year, they've had a couple of decent wide receivers and running backs as well. And they have some decent wins, like they beat North Carolina last year. Of course, that's because Sam Howell's receivers dropped 4 consecutive passes to end the game. But again, like, they wouldn't have been in that situation if Florida State hadn't scored points. So I think that there's definitely some options there with Mackenzie Milton too. But again, it's whether or not he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and then adding on what Andrew says right here. Yes, Brady?
I was going to say, I cannot wait for the Jack Cohn Mackenzie Milton head-to-head matchup to start next season.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God. Yeah, as Andrew says here, though, Florida State have had horrible offensive lines. But even then, going back, DeAndre Francois, he was like serviceable. He was fine. He wasn't a great option. What was it, Blackman they had, I think, last year that he like left the program. Some of these other guys they've thrown out there at quarterback have been just awful. So I get that their offensive line hasn't been bad, but those quarterbacks weren't the answer to lead them to the promised land, at least in the ACC. But going on to the second name that Brady talked about, Tyler Shuck, Tony Barber. I think Tyler Shuck will be a better fit at Texas Tech because they have more spread across the field. Shuck actually wasn't great at the deep ball, misfired. Tech will have dinks and dunks. I didn't realize because I was like, I went to Tyler Shuck's like page on Texas Tech's website and it gave like a whole bunch of information from him at Oregon last year. I didn't realize that he was like that good. Where granted they played I think 4 or 5 games and then he didn't play in the bowl game, but he was like leading the Pac-12 in like passing yards per game. Like his completion percentage was like among the best, where again, granted it was the Pac-12, it was a weird season. So him leading the pack is not, don't read too much into it, but he wasn't as bad as I thought. He was a highly touted guy coming out of high school. So you go to Texas Tech, it didn't work for Alan Bowman, but I think that Tyler Shuck is a better quarterback than Alan Bowman. I think there's a chance, Texas Tech, they'll go 7-5, they'll finish 6-6, but I think Tyler Shuck's going to be lighting up the stat sheet, and he's definitely a guy that you want on your college football fantasy team because he's just going to be, I think, airing it out for forever.
Yeah, I mean, there were just a bunch of reasons why he didn't mesh at Oregon, though. I mean, he's not super dynamic, like you said. I mean, he's a better fit at Texas Tech anyway. But again, like they would get into the red zone, and a lot of times they'd put in Anthony Brown, which is why I think that he's going to have a huge impact this year at Oregon because he's just a more dynamic quarterback, and he's also a 3-year starter. But again, like the way that Oregon's offense has been run the last couple of years is it's super dynamic, but a lot of things are just because that's the way the offense is run, not necessarily the way that the quarterback plays. Like Justin Herbert, one of the big transitions he had to make was like snap cadences and changing the play at the line because he didn't do any of that at Oregon. And like if you watch Hard Knocks, like that's a huge problem that they talk about with Herbert. It's just that he's unbelievably talented. And I think Shuck was very similar to Justin Herbert, but he was just not Justin Herbert. So maybe he can have more success at Texas Tech and build off of what he did in the past, while Anthony Brown could be more dynamic for Oregon.
Yeah. And Oregon also has I forget what his name is, but I believe the quarterback they have coming in this year is the highest rated quarterback recruit they've ever had in their program history. So he won't be starting early on, but it's definitely a name to keep an eye on. I want to throw right now to our man Connor, who hit us up in the live chat saying, as a Hokies fan, Hendon Hooker to Tennessee could be interesting. So the Garantano experiment is no more at Tennessee. That was 4 years of just not going anywhere. It was like a red light that just was not turning green. Hendon Hooker last year wasn't great for Virginia.
Did you just make a driving reference?
I sure did. I think 2019, I have to look up his stats. I'm sure Connor can back this up in the chat, but I feel like Hooker was a lot better in 2019. But so this is a guy where he has dual threat ability over his career, has, I think, probably like 4,000 passing yards, has rushed for over 1,000 yards. He's definitely not going to be the savior for Tennessee, but I believe this is definitely an upgrade in regards to the quarterback position, where if we see this all the time where certain players, they go to different schools and for some reason it just works. It just fits. Again, he's not going to be fighting for a Heisman Trophy, finalist position, but I wouldn't be shocked if he throws for 2,500 yards to 3,000 yards, rushes for 800 yards, has 10 rushing touchdowns. It could kind of be a sneaky move. Well, at this point, anything for Tennessee is an upgrade. Anything has to be an upgrade, I would think, and I like Hooker.
They also got Joe Milton.
Oh God, that's right.
I feel like he has talent too. It's just about finding the right place.
Yeah.
Like you said, Hendon Hooker could have 3,000 passing yards?
Yeah.
You think? Yeah, that would be double his season best so far. He had 1,500 in 2019.
How many games did he play?
10 games.
Oh, yeah. So I guess he's not the kind of passer I thought he was. But all right, 2,000 passing yards and 1,000.
He also had 620 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. 2020, balance.
So a solid dual threat guy.
Yeah.
So do you remember what the Oregon quarterback's name was?
The highly touted quarterback recruit coming in?
Yeah, just because they do not have very many super highly ranked quarterbacks. So Ty Thompson.
Yeah.
He's the highest they've ever had.
Look at the photo of that guy. He looks like he's legit 15.
Wow. Yeah, he does not look
I guess technically he's probably 17 or something, but the guy looks like he's legit
his
young.
Photo behind him is the press box at Cerritos College. I have called a game there.
As in Cerritos Auto Square?
That's absolutely. Yes, sir. He's from Gilbert.
Yeah.
There you
went
go.
To Mesquite.
Went to Mesquite High School in Gilbert.
There you go. So Hendon Hooker, that's going to be an interesting one. Connor says here he was in the quarterback rotation with Ryan Willis, so he was only about 2,500 yards passing. So there you go. And Juice says, guys, don't you remember Joe Milton is the next Cam Newton? Was there someone that came out and said that? That's because that sounds familiar when they were building up the Joe Milton hype. Maybe it was Harbaugh who said that last offseason that Joe Milton was going to be the next Cam Newton, because that seems like that's a familiar statement. I just remember where exactly it came from. All right. So, all right, guys. So moving on along, just a few other names that I briefly want to kind of quickly mention. One interesting one to keep an eye on is going to be Tanner Mordecai. He's been essentially sitting at Oklahoma for the last, I think, 3 years. He might have been there for the last 4 years. He's been there for a while. He was, I'm trying to find this right now, a pretty highly touted recruit when he came out of high school. He goes to SMU now. My Heisman frontrunner Shane Buechele is no longer there. And we saw what Buechele did at SMU. He was putting up some insane numbers. Mordecai, I think, I'd have to, again, look back where he was ranked in his quarterback class. I do think that he was probably like a top 10, 15 guy. He's a guy potentially that can light it up from SMU. We haven't really seen much of him, but definitely kind of a fun name to keep an eye on. So yeah, before we move along, guys, any other quarterbacks that you just briefly wanted to mention? One you thought was interesting? One that you just wanted to briefly talk about? Also, yeah, Luke McCaffrey is now officially at Rice. That is where he is officially ended up. The other McCaffrey brother, not Dylan.
More transfers with Utah because Jake Bentley's leaving now. I feel like they've got a new quarterback every 20 minutes.
Well, they have Charlie Brewer, who came in from Baylor, who was fantastic for Baylor. And in Utah, they have a couple. I mean, their quarterback room it's insane. I mean, their quarterback room is absolutely loaded. So interesting to see what happens there in Utah. Our man Andrew says, right,
Gunnar Cruz transferring from U of A and then right back to U of A.
There you go there. And then Cause Sports, our man Andrew says, Chase Bryce transferring from Duke to Appalachian State. Chase Bryce, he was another guy, I think, when he was at Clemson, then he went to Duke, now he's at App State. He was a highly touted recruit, but when you're sitting behind Trevor Lawrence, that's exactly what happens. All right, guys, we'll move on now to non-quarterbacks. Again, you guys can throw it to any player you want. It could be running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, defensive players, any non-quarterback that you think is going to make an impact, or again, one that you think is an interesting fit, or one that caught you by surprise?
For me, pretty easy. Keontae Ingram transferring from Texas to USC. I think he's going to be USC's number one running back right at the beginning. I was very surprised when I saw that he was transferring to USC. I'm a big fan of him. I mean, he only rushed for 250 yards this last year. But that was after the emergence of Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson is so good that Texas's starting running back transferred out. So, I'm excited to see what Keontae Ingram is going to do at USC. And that then prompted Stephen Carr and Marquise Stepp to leave. I still think USC's got a decent running back room, but Keontae Ingram was a guy that's rushed for 1,600 yards in his first 2 years at Texas. And then he had a career year in 2019, and then in the weird season in 2020, he only carried the ball 53 times, missed some games, and then Bijan Robinson was just really good. So I'm really excited to see Keontae Ingram. USC also got another running back transfer coming in from TCU. So the two of the Texas schools supplying SC with some new backs. I'm most excited for Keontae Ingram, though.
Where did Stephen Carr go again?
Well, I'll just hand it over to Brady for his pick.
No, I was going to say, where did Stephen Carr end up transferring to?
Well, Blake, funny you ask that. Matt was actually my favorite quarterback transfer. Stephen Carr.
Oh, yeah.
So he's he came to Bloomington. He's now at IU. If he would have been at IU, when he first came out of high school, he would have been their highest recruit of all time. He was a top 20 recruit in the country and was a 5-star. So he could end up being, funny enough, I think did end up being IU's first 5-star recruit in modern era, which is kind of crazy to think about. But he's one of those guys where never really became the featured back when he was at USC. Put up some good games where he had good numbers, a few 100+ yard games, a few touchdowns, but USC, like you guys know too well, had just such a stacked and loaded running back room over the last few years. I think he was there with Rojo, and he played throughout a few different great backfields at USC, and he's transferring to IU and is going to be in the running backfield with Samson James, the guy that's returning. Funny is how great IU's offense and how powerful their offense was last year. They finished 12th in the Big Ten in rushing yards. So it's one of those things where they do need to sort of even things out now. And I think Tom Allen's going to do a good job with that and can utilize Stephen Carr in both the passing and the rushing game. So my favorite non-quarterback transfer, Stephen Carr, because I get to enjoy watching him now.
The one thing that's going to be fun before I'll let Lyle go is that for Indiana over the next few years, every year we're going to be hearing this is the highest quarterback recruit they've ever gotten. This is the highest running back recruit they've ever gotten. This is their highest defensive recruit they've ever gotten. Indiana's just going to be setting this is the highest kicking recruit they've ever gotten. Indiana, I mean, as long as Tom Allen's there, they're going to be setting every recruiting record probably imaginable that they have in the program moving forward. All right, Lyle, I'll let you go to yours.
For me, this was pretty easy. Georgia picked up 2 absolute blue chip recruits this offseason in the transfer portal, and the upside for both of them, I think, is through the roof. The first guy is okay, I've heard it said both ways. Is it Eric Gilbert or is it Eric Gilbert and he just spells it with an A? Does anybody know?
I thought it was Eric.
I've heard both. So, okay, we'll go with Eric for the sake of this show. So
Yeah, I've heard both. When watching highlights of him, I've heard announcers say both as well. So I don't know what the actual like official like, unless he's come out and said like in an interview, no, this is how I prefer to be called. I don't know which one's actually the real one.
Yeah. Okay, so for the sake of the show, I'll stick with Eric. But Eric Gilbert, who was a blue chip tight end recruit out of high school, goes to LSU, decides after a season he wants to transfer, is going to Georgia, which is an interesting transfer, not just because they have a dynamic quarterback with JT Daniels at this point, but the loss of George Pickens has a serious impact in what their passing game and receiving core is going to look like. And with Pickens out for what could be the entire year, I read a report saying there's a chance he could come back at the end of the year. Point being, they're going to need some big-time pass catchers to step up. And whether that be a receiver or tight end is yet to be seen, but Eric Gilbert could easily be that guy for Georgia if he gets the reign and the freedom to be that potential number one pass catcher that he has the ability to be. And when he was coming out of high school, people thought he had the opportunity to be. So Eric Gilbert's the first. The second one, another Georgia transfer, is Darian Kendrick from Clemson. And this is a guy that had a chance to be a first-round pick if he had gone to the NFL draft this year. I know he had some off-the-field stuff. I know Clemson ended up dismissing him from the team, so I think a key with him is to keep his head on straight. But look, Georgia produces so many good defensive backs every year. The upside for what the potential corner tandem could be for these guys this year, I think is insane because, I mean, we all know who Kelee Ringo is because he was an Arizona recruit and he was one of the top recruits in college football. We'll see if he earns a starting job this year, but if their tandem is Kelee Ringo and Darian Kendrick, not only do I think that's going to be a nightmare for every opponent they face, but for every tandem not named Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks at LSU, this could be the best cornerback tandem in college football. That's what the upside is with Darian Kendrick transferring to Georgia and having the chance to play with Kelee Ringo if he wins a job. So I think there's been a lot of interesting transfers this offseason, but I think when you look at the blue chip profile and the level of upside that those two guys bring, I think they have a chance to make Georgia a national title contender.
Remember, they're also getting Tyke Smith too.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyke Smith transferring from West Virginia too. He is a former 4-star guy out of high school, and this is a West Virginia team that we talked about. Like, wow, they're actually like the number one defense in the country coming out of the Big 12. We talked about that a lot last year, and he was their main defensive back. So not only do you get those two guys, but then you grab Tyke Smith too, and I don't know, defensively, Georgia's kind of scary.
Well, the best part about those two Georgia ones were the fact that it happened like within the same hour. Where I remember we were in the group chat and I was like, "Yeah, do you hear about what Georgia just did? I can't believe it." And I was like, "No." And then like a second later, I get the notification saying they got not one but two. I think Eric Gilbert. Again, I had to look this up and double check. I think he might have been the highest tight end recruit like in recruiting history coming out of high school. Like I think he was like number one again all time. And if you guys remember, he initially, after LSU, transferred to Florida, was there for about like a month, and everyone's thinking, wow, Kyle Pitts is leaving, they're bringing in Gilbert, and then he opted to transfer, now he's going to – so he's essentially knocking out essentially all SEC schools that he can at this point. Next year he's going to be going to Alabama, I'm sure, but yeah, you get the best – probably, one of the best tight end prospects in the entire country, and then like what Lyle was saying, Georgia's defense now is they're looking damn good. They're looking good. And the fact, again, they got both those guys on the same day. It's not every day you can get like 5-star guys. Because I think Kendrick was a 5-star, if I remember correctly. If not, he was a highly touted 4-star. But yeah, would have been a first-round pick. Then he got, I think, kicked off the team at Clemson, if I remember correctly. There was some off-the-field incident. I'm sure Andrew can let us know in the chat. But yeah, two big ones for Georgia right there. Guys, any other ones you want to get to before we get to some of the comments that people have, and then we'll move on to our next segment?
Really quickly, according to an LSU media guide, it's pronounced Eric. Like E-R-I-C.
Okay.
There you go.
Good to know.
There you go. So yeah, there's
a
couple. So we got Eric P saying Derek Pitts going from Marshall to NC State. Another good one. Marshall Loki always has some like sneaky good talent that unfortunately they're not going to be able to keep. Another one from Zach Charbonnet at UCLA, a transfer sleeper.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
UCLA, they low-key have gotten some good transfers over the years, and then they've had some players they've lost over the years that just make no sense whatsoever. And also another one for UCLA, I remember this one as well. They got Ethan Garbers, who was, I think, a highly touted recruit coming out. Let's see, 24/7 has him as a 3-star. I thought he was like a 4-star, but he was, in Washington. They have a crowded quarterback room in Washington, and they have a pretty good 5-star quarterback that'll likely be starting at some point this season. So Ethan Garbers, I guess once Dorian Thompson-Robinson, this will probably be his final season. Once he's gone, Ethan Garbers will take the reins. So a lot of really good transfers.
They got Jay Toya from USC too. He was a 4-star.
Yeah. So a lot of good transfers. Unfortunately, guys, I just looked. Tate Martell is still in the portal. He's hanging out there, having a good time in the transfer portal. Everyone's been reporting that he's going to be going to UNLV, but hasn't made it there quite yet. Maybe he's just still partying, having a good time there in the transfer portal. So we'll have to wait and see. So again, those are the latest in regards to transfer news. A whole lot more we wish we could have gotten to, but not enough time because we are now going to transition into the fun segment that our executive producer Brady came up with. And then, of course, over the final 10, 15 minutes of the show, we are going to go into a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions you guys can hit us up in the super chat. You guys can hit us up there. Hit us up on Twitter. That guarantees your question to be answered. So I'm actually going to throw it over to Brady right now so he can explain this fun, brand new idea that he came up with for a fun segment that's going to be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, according to Blake, this is going to be fun. Anyways, I got super bored the other day and was watching some Olympic trials and thought to myself, I wonder what college football players would make good Olympic athletes. Now, this isn't track and field. This isn't basketball. This is like the most random sports you can think of in the Olympics. So I don't remember, Josh, you remember what our final ones were that we did?
Brady, what Olympic trials were you watching? Because I was watching some Olympic trials too.
I watched a little bit of everything. So I was watching some track and field, and then I was watching gymnastics as well. And I also watched swimming a few weeks back because I had a friend who was in the swimming Olympic trials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was watching the swimming and then the gymnastics too. This is a little off topic, but before we start, I mean, I wish gymnastics got more coverage because it is actually insane how much better Simone Biles is than every single other person that steps onto the floor. Like it's like LeBron in basketball. It really is, except it's gymnastics.
Right.
Except there are some people who they
consider her as the best ever, right? Not
just
the best right now.
Well, yes.
Ever.
Yes. She is so much better than like everybody else on the floor.
I saw something on Twitter and it was a great point. And it was in the Olympics, or at least in the Olympic trials, they should have just a normal person or an average person at that sport competing alongside them. So like in the 100-meter butterfly for swimming, they should have just like a normal person who's who's a decent swimmer, like who's training. It was like maybe like a high school swimmer, whatever, swimming like the 9th lane just to see how fast and far ahead these people actually are than everyone else.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd love this. Like track and field, put a normal person out there. See how fast these guys actually are.
Exactly.
All right. So Brady, he gave us 4. So essentially he said, we're picking anyone in college football in archery, badminton, gymnastics, and beach volleyball. And then he said, you guys can pick your 5th. So we could pick any, sport we want and go from there. So we're going to kick it off, guys. I want to start this one off. We're going to start with the archery category. So again, this is in the college football world. It could be current players, former players, coaches, whatever you want to do. And if you're, it's the Olympics and you're doing archery, who are you sending out there? This one was a no-brainer for me. This is why I had to get this out of the way. If you're going to do it, if you're doing archery, I mean, that is a far away target. You need to have the best eyesight and the best vision you can have. Well, usually to have really good vision, you wear goggles, you wear glasses of some sorts. And I'm sending out Rodrigo Blankenship, and I'm going to have him with his bow and arrow, with those glasses on, and he's hitting the target every time. So Rodrigo Blankenship, he's out there in the archery fields, or whatever the correct term is, because I don't know anything about archery.
Should have done more research. Should have done
I
more
just know
research.
Bow and arrow. That's all I know. Katniss Everdeen.
Hey, Coach Getter's here in the comments. He commented who I was actually going to say. Throwback, he tweeted out to us a year ago when he was on our show. We need to bring him on again sometime soon. He's always a fun conversation. But for archery, you got to go with Duck Hodges from a few years ago. I mean, he's a big hunter. He's it's probably more of a gun, but he's got the duck call. I feel like Duck Hodges would be lethal with a bow and arrow out there.
Duck Hodges. God.
Duck Hodges.
Is he still in the Steelers?
I don't think so.
No, he's a Ram.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Whose house?
Ram's house, baby. Let me confirm that I believe he just joined the Rams.
Hey, Connor says Coach O for archery, but he has to do it shirtless.
While Josh is looking that up,
Ram.
I thought it was we were just doing current college football players. Oh, but if it's anybody, I feel
go like the last few years.
I did this year.
Okay.
I was going to also, but then Blake said Rodrigo, and then I saw Duck and all that. So
if it was anybody, I feel like I'd take Aaron Rodgers just because the dude might be the most accurate thrower of the football ever. But over the last couple years, or even if you want a current player, I feel like Sam Howell would be a good one. Pretty accurate passer.
That was mine. I took Sam Howell. He had the 4th best completion percentage in the country last year. 3 guys ahead of him aren't in college football this year. He's also tall. He's got big arms. He's strong. You got to pull the bow back, right? I mean, You're talking like I want a guy who could string Odysseus's bow. You know, look at that Odyssey. I'm dropping that in.
Can I change my answer to one that makes too much sense?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Alan Bowman.
Oh, that's a good one.
Bowman.
All right, so
bow and arrow, and his last name's Bowman. You get it? You guys get it?
Well done, Brady. Well done. All right, guys. So the next one that we've decided is going to be badminton. So who's playing badminton? So badminton's officially an Olympic sport.
Yes, it is.
I need to know when that's on.
There was I want to say back in 2008 maybe, and don't quote me on this. You know, I'm a sports journalist and all that, but I have no idea if this is true. So, to the best of my memory, I believe Japan intentionally lost like all of their intro, like their opening rounds, so that they didn't get the highest seed, but then didn't get the lowest seed. They wanted the middle seeds so that they could just absolutely dominate everybody until the title based off of their matchups or whatever. And they got suspended. And I think it was Japan back in like 2008, and there was like some scandal. I don't know. I could be totally misremembering that.
Well, I've never seen competitive badminton, and I am looking forward to seeing that because for those who have played, it is a fun sport, and it can get intense. You wouldn't think so, but it can get intense.
Josh, what it was is they threw their games is what they were doing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't to get the seeding, but they were illegally gambling and threw their games.
Oh, is that what it was?
It was in, I believe, 2016.
Incredible.
There you go.
Incredible. We should do that.
Taking a page right out of 1919. How about that?
Yep.
Japan. If I had to pick a college football player that was going to thrive at badminton, so obviously strength goes into badminton at times, but it's kind of a finesse sport where you have to have finesse, you have to have some strategy behind it. I'll take Chris Olave for badminton because he's a finesse wide receiver. He's scrappy, runs good routes. I feel like if he stepped on a badminton court, he'd have the same type of finesse. Try to hit some, rinky-dink shots right over the net instead of always going for the power shot or the home run swing. I'll take Olave.
Here's a fun one, guys. I'm taking BYU freshman defensive lineman Victory Vaca. He is 6'3", 350 pounds, and he's got the perfect name to lead my badminton squad to victory. I think as a defensive lineman, if they end up putting him on the edge as an edge rusher at BYU, he's got to be quick. He's got to be nimble. He's got to have that strength too. Overhand shot, just pow. Just hit that thing down, but you got to be finesse with it too, like Lyle said. So I'm taking Victory Vaca, but also, like, how are you going to get it? How are you going to get over past him if he's playing in the front, right? He's 6'3", 350, and Victory will lead my team to victory. So Victory Vaca, you're my new favorite player in college football. I will be watching every single BYU game this year in hopes that I get to see you play. I don't know if he's a top recruit or what. Couldn't tell you.
Bro, plus you got Jesus Christ on your side if you got him from BYU. So
Exactly.
No. John
Joseph
Smith.
Yeah,
You get
John
Joseph
Smith.
Joseph Smith.
Joseph
yeah,
Smith.
well, no,
Sean.
Joseph Smith just did the trek from New York to Provo, Utah, and delivered the prophecy. But it's still Jesus Christ that they count on.
Yes.
Whose headphones doing, or whose mic's doing that? It's annoying. Anyways, see, Josh, I really didn't know who I was going to go with for this one up until about a minute ago when you said your guy. And you said, well, he was like, what, 6'3", 350?
6'3", 350 Victory Vaca.
I think that's too big. I'm going with someone who's
I think you're
6'1",
wrong.
100. I'm going with someone who's 6'1", 178 pounds. Athlete.
You're tiny.
Bro, that's my
No.
frame.
They're-
You are not
right.
6'1".
You're not 178 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to say, which one's the lie?
Yeah.
Both.
No, you got to be nimble. You got to be quick. You got to be agile. I don't know if you've ever watched badminton, but it's a great sport. It's finesse. It's touch. It's having soft hands. And I'm going to go with a wide receiver.
Baby, let's go.
What'd you say?
I played.
Yeah,
I was in the
it's
Olympic
great.
qualifiers.
Dude, I have failed to qualify for the Olympics every year of my life. Think about that.
Great. Who do we get, Brady?
In which sport? All of them.
Dude, all of them. I'm going with a 6'1", 180-pound wide receiver from LSU. You may remember this. Josh, you gave me a great name, but I'm going to give you a better one. The coldest to ever do it, Crawford, is my
boy.
badminton player
God.
for the Olympic team. You know why?
Wow.
Because he's got the coolest name I've ever heard. It's the coldest to ever do it, Crawford.
The coldest.
That's fantastic. Yeah, for
Yeah.
mine, it's going to be, everyone, we all know someone where they're just gifted at every sport. They can really do it all. But also with badminton, for the most part, at some point, you have to play the intimidation factor. Like, you got to scare the other team. Like,
Victory
you got to play.
Vaca.
You got to play mind games with them. And I need someone that's going to do anything to win. He's going to intimidate the hell out of the other team, and he's going to lay it all on the line and win for me. That's Rob Gronkowski. That dude is going to
Too far back. Too far
No.
Yeah,
back.
that's
Nope,
way too
nope,
far
Too
back.
far
Nope.
back.
No, because I want him. When I saw this, I said Rob Gronkowski is going to be my guy playing badminton and going absolutely insane, going absolutely absurd on these guys. No, I'm not. I don't care if it's 10 years ago. Rob Gronkowski, he's on my badminton team. And you guys are just upset because you know that he's the best out of those four guys. Victory Vaca, please. He has no outside speed. He's not going to be able to get to each side. He's trapped wherever he is. He can't move to the left. He can't move to the right. It's over. If it's behind him, he's not going to be able to run back. Gronk, he's as athletic as anyone out there. He'll get there. You guys are just jealous.
Not
Victory
jealous.
Vaca is the man, though. All right, guys, moving on to our next one. We got, as Lyle was talking about with Simone Biles, in gymnastics. So which would be a guy going, and this, again, could be anything gymnastics-wise, but you can pick which event he's doing, but there you go.
Can I jump in first with this one? I got mine.
Sure.
No.
And it's an all-around gymnastics. No one in gymnastics just does one specialty. They do everything. You got to be able to stick the landing on the balance beam and also do the pommel horse and a floor routine, Blake. You not know anything about gymnastics. That's a dumb question. Of course you do. All right. So my gymnast, you guys might remember him a few years ago. I think it was 2017. Well, he used to be the Cal quarterback, and he transferred to Northern Illinois. I'm going with Ross Bowers. He was the Cal
Interesting.
quarterback. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because he had the game. Actually, I have it pulled up right here. It was, who was it against? It was against Washington State 2017. He scrambled for like an 8-9 yard touchdown and did a front flip and got hit over somebody on the goal line. His mom was the former University of Washington gymnastics coach.
How do you find this?
Blake, that's a dumb question.
That is true.
So I was going to say, I know he's from Seattle. I did not know his mom is the UW gymnastics coach, but I was going to say,
Yeah.
I remember that play that you're talking about. And I'm going to be honest, the only reason I remember it is because that's how I was introduced to Bob Menery and his Instagram account. Because the first one I saw was Ross Bowers.
Yeah, I know. Holy.
Yeah, exactly. That
I
one.
remember that one.
He didn't stick the landing great, but he did a legit front flip over somebody.
Exactly. I think I'd go with versatility too if I was going to pick somebody to be a gymnast in the Olympics, but you need somebody versatile and dominant. So honestly, I'm going to go with Derek Stingley. I mean, if he's going to play offense this year, there's your versatility, and you can argue he's the best player in the sport. So versatility and dominance, I'll take my odds with Stingley.
So I decided to go a little bit out of the box with this one. And typically you want somebody that's a little more small, a little bit agile. But once again, I decided to go 6'3", 350-pound Victory Vaca for my gymnast. No, I'm kidding. I thought, small, nimble, quick, somebody that's able to stick the landing, and that's what we need. So I'm taking CJ Verdell. He's quick. He's nimble. He's small. They say he's 5'10". You know what I say to that? No way. No way he's 5'10". I'm saying 5'8", 5'9". They always lie on those things. So I'm taking CJ Verdell. Yeah, well, remember, there was an ASU basketball player who I'm not going to name. He never stepped foot on the floor. They said he was 6'1". I was taller than that dude when we would go and stand on the court before games, and I'm 5'10 and a half. I say I'm 5'11". I lie a little bit. I'm 5'11".
Bro, I was at the doctor a month ago and they measured me and they said I was 5'10 and 7/8. I'm like, no, doc, I'm rounding up on here. I'm 5'11". Yeah.
Who measures in the eighths like that?
They did in Arcadia, California. So I'm 5'10, 7/8.
Well, tell your pediatrician
we round up
to start measuring differently.
I said we're rounding up to 5'11. That's what we're
do you still see a pediatrician?
No.
Oh.
I got one more person for gymnastics.
All right.
You can go.
I'm going to. Because this is my topic, Blake.
Oh, well, okay.
It might not be Victory Vaca because he's mine.
It's not Victory Vaca. It's someone who Simone Biles has actually tweeted about for how impressed she was with this person's form. I'm going Nyheim Hines, who scored a touchdown against the Lion, did a full-on back handspring as a touchdown celebration, and then did a round off where it's like the spinning flip in the end zone, like as a celebration in full pads. So I'm going Nyheim Hines and Ross Bowers as my two Olympic teammates for gymnastics. A real team, unlike all my other ones.
I'll just get to mine very quickly, then move on to the final one. I'm going with what happened? What was his name? I don't know why I'm drawing John Ross. I'm going with John Ross. He's probably the fastest player to ever play college football. And I think, just in regards to gymnastics, I feel like when he's on the bar, when he's doing the stuff on the high beam, I don't know. I just get the vibes that he would excel in that. And I was going to say Justin Ross, but I was like, no, that's the Clemson wide receiver. But hey, maybe him too. So the next one we did have, but this one I think it'll be more fun to each go to our own individual one. We did have beach volleyball. If you guys win, you guys can quickly say what the name is because I want to get to the final one we were going to pick. Then we can get to the Q&A for 5 to 10 minutes. We'll go past it. All right, so this one, you guys could pick which category you wanted to do. I chose ping pong. Some guys chose some other different categories. So, Josh, I'll throw it to you. Which category did you pick for a fun one? And I guess why is Victory Vaha doing that category?
Well, I considered Victory Vaca, but here's the thing. Victory would lead my squad to victory and represent my country well in pretty much every other sport. But look, in this one, not only do we need to go fast in rowing, but we got to stay afloat. So I decided to go with somebody who I think is very strong. I mean, just look at the guy. The dude's built like a fridge. But also showing great potential. Could be the next big, good team leader in college football. And that's DJ Uiagalelei. So, I mean, look at the dude's arms. They're the size of monster truck tires. So you need someone that's – so here's the way that I looked at this. One, is he going to be like – what is it, boatswan? Boswan? What's the word for the person who sits at the front and just shouts them the whole time? Sure, the captain,
row.
The person who yells row, which seems super easy, by the way, not to discredit anybody. I think he could do that. Got to change plays at the line, whatever. But also, maybe if he's actually going to be rowing, look at those biceps. So if he's going like this, I think the dude's got the biceps that are going to row my team to victory, where Victory Vaca will be waiting for us at the finish line.
There
to
you go.
hoist everybody on your team up into the air.
Yes. Victory Vaca.
look at your guys' text. I actually just sent you a
Yeah.
picture of Victory Vodka.
Oh, I
Not-
know what
not-
he looks like.
Not what I imagined Victory Vaha to look like.
Vodka, Blake.
with a
Vodka.
K.
Vaha. Vaha.
Dummy.
Victory Vodka. That's an
All
old
right.
photo,
Lyle?
too. The one that I saw was he's got
Lyle?
tall hair too.
Loyal?
All right, I'll go. The final one I picked was going to be swimming. I mean, I guess you could do swimming / diving, but I'll just stick with the swimming. Look, you got to have somebody with some combination of speed and strength. I'm going to stick with current college football players here, and I know I've talked about it a lot of the premier guys and the blue chip guys. I'm going to stick on that, and I'm going to, I can't let the show go without shouting out my guy. If I had to pick somebody to do swimming, I'm taking Kyle Hamilton because the dude's 6'4", 220 with speed and strength. I feel like that's the type of guy where you get him in a pool and he's just going to start swimming at a speed that would just blow people away. So if I had to pick somebody to swim, I'm gonna take Kyle Hamilton. Big athletic safety that I feel like could also be an Olympic swimmer if you asked him to be.
If you asked him politely.
If you ask him
Right, you have
politely.
to ask- yeah, politely.
Add a please
Um,
at the end.
for
That's the
my-
power of please.
Power of. I've got two, and I'm stealing one from Josh. Victory
Victory.
Vodka is going to go be on the rugby team
Fair.
because he'll just run through dudes. And I'm doing another one that makes sense and is a technicality, but is true. Sarah Fuller is on my soccer team. There you go.
All right.
It's true. Technicality.
I like
You
it.
know.
It's a good pick.
Or if they had a Olympic fishing, I'd go Justin Herbert.
She transferred. She
Justin
went to
Herbert.
North Texas. Sarah
Oh,
Fuller.
Sarah Fuller.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so for mine, I opted to go with ping pong just because watching these ping pong matches are lit. I know Lyle watches it and goes, man, I could take these guys. This is nothing. But when it came to ping pong, I was thinking, who's someone where I just want someone going back to the intimidation factor, someone that's going to scare my opponent, but someone who I feel like they're just jacked and they can just knock someone down like crazy. I had two. An easy one is DK Metcalf, just because I feel like any Olympic category you talk about, he could be. I thought Lyle was going to talk about him for swimming because I feel like he'd be a fantastic swimmer. If we're talking about the races, DK Metcalf, I mean, he tried out for crying out loud. Another one, though, I went with Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know, man. Something about him playing ping pong, I feel like he would not lose. It'd be scary. He might break a few paddles.
Or the
I think
table,
Jadeveon
dive over.
or the
right?
table. He might snatch that table, but I think Jadeveon Clowney would come out on top with the victory in that. So those are some fun college football athletes being Olympic athletes. Well done, Brady. Well done going back for that. All right, guys, we're going to move now to our, what was it, Lyle?
Oh, if you must know, a story recently came out about DK that he only started swimming 2 or 3 years ago, and now he's apparently insane at it.
Well, there you go.
Apparently Russell taught him, and now he's insane
You
at it.
taught him how to swim.
I guess he never really swam much growing up, but now he's really good at it.
All right, guys. So now let's move on to our Q&A. We'll go right here. We have 5 to 10 minutes to answer as many questions as possible. If, again, you guys have any college football related questions, NFL questions, any question in general, hit us up in that live chat. We're going to get through as many as we can, but we're going to start over on Twitter. This was something that we actually were going to discuss earlier in the show. We ended up not, but luckily Andrew Coster hit us up in the Q&A about it. And he says, do you think that the recent Supreme Court ruling about player endorsements is good or bad for college football? Guys, Graham Mertz, he has a logo. He has a brand. So if you guys are interested in buying some Graham Mertz merchandise,
Graham merch.
Graham merch, today is your day. What are you guys' thoughts on players being able to make money on this
Tomorrow is
finally?
the day.
Or tomorrow, July 1st is the official first day.
Can I jump in really quickly? I do want. I think this is absolutely awesome for college football. It's about damn time. And if anyone wants to be sponsored by the Harris Highlights Show or Harris Highlights, we would love to not pay you to wear a shirt with
Yes.
a logo on it.
We
We'll
will
sponsor you.
give you a free shirt.
I'll give you a free shirt. Yeah.
The
And
rare
a hoodie. I'll give you a
sponsorship
hoodie,
where you
too.
don't get money.
Yeah.
Genius.
For the love of the game.
Oh yeah.
Go on, guys. I think it's great.
just
I think
means
it's
more.
awesome. And I'm so excited to see what these guys come up with and see the kind of partnerships that these guys pull.
Look, I think it's worth pointing out that maybe it's not for everybody. And the good thing about this is, like, you can do what you want. If you want to market yourself, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I think it's cool that some schools are giving guys the opportunity to market for themselves or to help them get marketing and branding. I believe ASU's been doing that. USC's been preparing for tomorrow for the last couple of years, and it's been a big part of their recruiting pitch too. In fact, like some basketball programs, I know USC did it, helped help their players design like their own personal logos. Personally, like I was only a fan of like one or two of those logos anyway, but it's cool that schools can now, they can help players design their own brand if they want that. And then selfishly, this is one step closer to getting another NCAA football game from EA. And I know that we all want that. And it's been it's been almost 10 years since we've had the last game. It's been like 8 years or something like that. This is huge for the sport. And I think it's going to make, I think it's going to be a big recruiting pitch for a lot of schools, and not just necessarily the blue bloods of college football, but anybody.
Yeah, sorry. I had to click off mute. I agree with you. Look, like Brady said, like Josh just talked about, one, players should be allowed to do what they want. Not everybody has to do it. But this is so unbelievably long overdue. I mean, it's about time. The fact that the Supreme Court, we won't get into this too much, but they don't usually agree on anything. The fact they voted 9-0 to allow benefits for college athletes should tell you all you need to know. And along with that, if there's anybody that's out there that says, oh, college athletes shouldn't be paid because they're on scholarship and they get a free education, my retort to that is, well, there are scholarships given out for academic reasons, for theater, for music, for a huge amount of different stuff. I mean, numerous scholarships are given out for many different reasons to college students. Now, those people that are in theater or music or get academic scholarships, nobody tells them they can't go make money and build a brand and earn a profit while they're in college. Why? What's so special about an athlete that because they play a sport, oh, you can't make any money? Everything you go and do on the field, like, that's our money. That's the NCAA's money. I think this is long overdue, and I think it was a pretty easy call.
Plus, it's not even like they're being paid to go out there and play football. It's not like ASU's running out 20 players or 11 players on the field, we'll say, and they got to pay all of them because they're out there playing the game. No,
maybe they are though.
Huh? Oh, yeah, let's talk about a different sport.
I don't know, dog.
Maybe I spoke too soon. It's been a while since we've done a show. So let's say that some Division 6 school is sending 11 players out on the field.
I don't know, dog.
Yeah, don't tell me no one in college football is paying anybody, but that's neither here nor there. I frankly don't care. But anyway, like, it's not like they're paying them to go out there and play. Like, these guys are able to make the money on their own, like that. So you can say, they have like the free education with their scholarship. Okay, yeah, sure. The school isn't paying them. They have the opportunity to go make the money on their own for their own brand, for their likeness, anything like that. And I believe everybody has that right, don't they?
Yeah. So Andrew said,
athlete, they do.
Andrew said here in the chat, it looks like DJ Uyunglele, and I had to Google this. He tweeted out, "Thank you for always having great flights at Delta, # July 1st with like a weekend emoji." So he says he's got a potential thing with Delta for $100K. So if that's the case, he's got.
Is there a cap on how much they can make off of these endorsements?
Well, I mean, if he's getting $100K, either that's the cap or there's no such thing as cap. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what players they go to, because you can now sponsor each other. Again, you can have brand deals and all that kind of stuff. So especially with Uyunglele, if he's having a thing with Delta, that's going to be fairly interesting to go take a look at. All right, guys, time for a few more questions. We'll go through these as quickly as we can. Almost always a football blog / Otani for MVP. Who is a current NFL player, if added to their college this upcoming season, could bring them to their first college football playoff berth? So again, this is teams that haven't been to the college football playoff yet. His example is I put Russell Wilson back on the Badgers. So again, teams that have yet to been to the college football playoff, you don't have to win it all, but they're going back to their old team and they're guiding them to the college football playoff for the first time.
Yeah, I like that one. That's one of the ones that jumped out to me right away. Was Russ. Tom Brady going back to Michigan. Quarterback play has been pretty lacking for Michigan since, God, I don't know, like
ever in our existence.
Tom Brady.
Since like Denard,
But even
Denard Robinson
Robinson.
was fine. Like
Yeah.
Chad Henne. But yeah, I mean, like Tom Brady going back to Michigan would be huge. I obviously don't know if that's a playoff team, but Tom Brady is, as far as I'm concerned, a favorite to win the Super Bowl every year until proven otherwise. And then I don't know, Reggie Bush going to SC could be fun.
That'd be fun.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, so I was trying to think about who could really make the biggest impact on a team if they went back to school, because you think about somebody like Aaron Donald, who is arguably the most dominant player in the whole sport. Well, he can't play offense. Like Pitt's offense is not very good, so he could do everything on the defensive side of the ball, but unless he has a strip sack and takes it for a touchdown, he can't score points. So I feel like the Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, maybe Aaron Rodgers to Cal debate.
Yeah, I was going to say Rodgers
is probably where I'd go, just because they actually put points up on the board.
I'll go out of the blue and go Randy Moss to Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah. That puts him over the edge.
Yeah,
I was going to go Rodgers to Cal, but Randy Moss to Marshall.
It's tough because you have to try to think of the teams that haven't been there yet, and you're thinking of players like how much of an impact like do you think they really would make? So it's like looking back at it, you're like thinking like like those old SC teams, maybe like Brady Quinn to. Well, I guess no, I was going to say Notre Dame, but I forgot they have to not win it. They just have to make the playoffs. So Notre Dame doesn't count because they've been in it. That's a tough one. I'm like drawing a blank on because there's like not one that just kind of stands out where it's like a team that just hasn't made it, where they just had a player where it's like they were just ahead of their time. So I've been stumped. Yeah. But guys,
what about no, Mario Williams was North Carolina State, wasn't he?
Yeah, or I was
Carolina.
Or I was going to say, Tuck Hawk put in the comments a statement that I agree with, because he's talking about Patty Mahomes going back to Texas Tech. I think I think that's the same argument as Aaron Donald going back to Pitt. Is Patty Mahomes might do everything in the world on offense, but can they stop a single drive on the defensive side of the ball? Like,
also, he wasn't there that long ago.
I know.
He was just there.
You saw him in person? He was the second biggest takeaway from the game.
A lot's happened in 5 years with him.
All right, guys. So we'll go here to YouTube. We got time for one more question. This will come from Tuck Hawk, because Short Round's not with us. He's not dead. He's just no longer with us tonight, I should say. When will we all be? No, it's all good. When will we all be saved from this monopoly and get a champion from outside of the Southeast? Haven't had one since Ohio State back in 2015.
You know what? Why not? This year, we break up that streak.
Who's it gonna be?
Gonna win, huh? Oh. No, then never mind. I don't know. I think it's tough, but like I've said in past shows, I believe that there is that monopoly in college football. And again, I mean, you go back the early 2000s, and like Alabama was fine. Clemson was irrelevant. Like, sorry, Clemson fans. I know Coster's in here. Historically, Clemson's not relevant. Sorry, they're not. But I think that college football kind of goes in waves, right? Like you have these like 10-year dynasties, if not more. And right now it's Alabama and Clemson. And then you have other teams that compete, like Georgia's going to compete. Oklahoma's going to compete. Notre Dame is going to compete. Until proven otherwise, I think there is a monopoly between those two teams. I'll say that there is a non-Southeast, non-SEC, non-ACC champion in college football in the next 5 years. I will say that. But I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know when it's going to be. But, like I've said before, like I'll believe it when I see it. Just because that's where people want to play. Because, I mean, if I'm Nick Saban, hey, so we've won. Here's a book of when we've won recently. And you might not play this year, right? You're not going to be a starter. We're going to be up by 40 points going into the fourth quarter. You'll play the whole fourth quarter of every game this entire season. Like, that's a recruiting pitch for me. Like, I'd be down. Like, Bryce Young losing the starting job at quarterback and starting the second half of, like, 6 games. Like, that's a great recruiting pitch, which is why they're so good every year, because they have these guys who weren't starters the year before who have experience as if they were starters. So until that's not happening anymore, it's not going to be anybody outside of Alabama or Clemson, in my opinion, or just the South because Georgia's always
Yeah.
been around too.
Yeah, I agree. If it's not going to be somebody in the Southeast, I think you have to look at Ohio State. You look at Oklahoma if they can ever get over the hill. And then if you have to look in the Pac-12, you'd probably look at USC or Oregon.
Yeah, I think outside of that region, I think Lyle just nailed it. It's Ohio State. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say Texas because they're indeed not back. Even though they got a new coach. Hey, effing hook 'em, right? So
Yes.
I think I don't know. I think the big three you'd have to go with would be Ohio State, Oklahoma, and I'll say Oregon.
Yeah. Those are the basic
Just to
ones,
not say USC.
unless like Josh was kind of saying, which again, I was responding to a text, so I might have heard this wrong, but I think, were you saying like within 5 years, there's going to be like a new powerhouse or there's going to be like a new one that
No, I
emerges?
just said within the next 5 years, I'll say there's a champion outside of the South.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. Hey, maybe someone will emerge. Maybe the Pac-12 will become what we all hope and dream and beg. And like, if we can get to the point where there's like 7 teams in the Pac-12 in the top 25, and every game is must-see television. And,
Yeah, Colorado and Wazoo and Oregon State and Utah. Let's go, baby.
That's like the worst part. It's like the Pac-12. It's like every team for the most part over the last like 15, 20 years, like a solid couple year stretch, we're just like an insane team. Like if we got those like early 2000s Colorado teams, like the early 2010s Stanford teams, the mid like 2000s Utah, the late 2000s like Arizona State. Arizona was good, I think, a couple years ago. Like those Oregon teams that have always been good. The Pac-12 could be lit, but
2013 Oregon State was solid with Sean Mannion.
Yeah, I think they like they were top 10 team.
I think that team had Brandon Cooks and Jaquiz Rogers on it too.
Yeah. I don't know about. I think both Rogers
were
younger, weren't they?
You're right. Not Rogers, but Cooks was on that team.
But Cooks was on that. He won the Biletnikoff that year.
The Pac-12 will be back one day. Not today.
One day.
Tomorrow it's going to be back. We're going to celebrate tomorrow when Larry Scott's no more, when he clears out his office. But that wraps up this edition of the Harris Highlights Show.
Brady, let me get that food question.
Yeah. What food question?
Didn't you say you were going to ask a food question?
No,
a random question. All right, here's a food question.
Let me hear it.
Here's a food question. Then I got one. If you were trapped inside of a food and had to eat your way out of it, what would it be?
There was an old
it can't just be like it can't be ice cream where it just melts.
There was an old episode of Codename Kids Next Door where they had to eat their way out of broccoli covered in cheese. I have nightmares because of that episode. I did not even watch that show when I was a kid. I saw that one episode and it haunts me to this day. I'll say, oh man, mashed potatoes.
That was mine.
Yeah? All right.
I can mess up some mashed potatoes.
Yeah, I'll do loaded mashed potatoes. I can eat my way out of that.
I feel like I'd take something like a pretzel because there's a bunch of ways out and you don't have to take that many like bites of food to work your way out.
Somehow that makes sense.
I asked this question. Go ahead, Blake. Go ahead.
I'll take soft serve ice cream. Just
you said you can't
guzzle it all down.
No, you can. You just can't melt.
And I will.
You can't have it melt.
Oh, okay.
I asked this question to I don't remember who I asked to. It was someone at work, and they said cotton candy because you just like lick one piece of it, then it all just sort of disintegrates.
Oh, true.
There you go.
Good one.
So that's the food we'd all try to escape out of and eat our way out. All right, guys, you guys can follow the show on Twitter at the HH Show _. That way, whenever we post when we're going to do shows, anything like that, Q&As, you guys can find us there. Again, and starting in July, we're going to be doing our conference previews, our conference breakdowns. If you need to figure out what exactly that's going to be, probably middle to end of July. Probably have a trivia show coming up in the coming weeks, something like that, because not a whole lot of news really to go over. Guys, any parting words before we head out for the week and technically for the month?
Suns in 6.
No, Clippers in 7.
Literally anybody out of the East, I don't care.
Bro, literally it's either going to be the Hawks or Bucks that make it out. Trae Young and Giannis are going to be done for the playoffs, and the Suns are yet going to have another team featuring their star player that they get to play and go through.
Yep. That'll be Lakers, Nuggets, Clippers, and then whoever out of the East. That's crazy. You want to talk about an asterisk, Suns fans? There's your asterisk.
All right, so I just had to pause the Clippers game because it's getting ready to start. Clippers in 7. Never forget it. It's the it's
We
like
over me, baby.
Yes, bright lights
Dumb.
over spotlights or whatever their stupid taglines were that were just absolutely awful. For Josh Schaefer, Lyle Goldstein, Brady Klein, this has been Blake Harris from the Chateau in beautiful Monrovia, California. Thank you everyone for tuning in, for commenting. Thank you guys so much, and we are going to see you guys right back here again for our next episode.